Hello viewers, welcome to our program on Immigration and You. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us my law partner David Nachman. David, welcome.
Thanks so much, Michael. Always a pleasure to be here with you, of course.
Thank you. Now before we start the program, we wish all of you a very happy Valentine. Then we go to President's Day coming on Monday, and following that is the Shivaratri on Tuesday. So all these holidays, enjoy, have fun, and be with your family and boyfriends, girlfriends, your loved ones, whatever.
Exactly. We want to wish everyone a nice Valentine's Day weekend.
Okay.
Enjoy.
So here it is. A Valentine's Day to all of you. Okay, let's start the program with cutoff dates for the month of March 2015. The family first preference, which is for the unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, advances only 1 week to August 1, 2007. The family 2A category, which is for the unmarried sons and daughters under the age of 21 of green card holders as well as the spouses of the green card holders. Pretty good news, advances by 6 weeks to June 22nd, 2013. The family 2B category, which are the unmarried sons and daughters over the age of 21 of green card holders, also good news, advances by 6 weeks to June 8, 2008. That's very good. The family third preference, which are the married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, advances by 3 weeks to January 22nd, 2004. And the family fourth preference, which are the brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens, advances also by 4 weeks to May 15, 2002. So as you can see, the family first preference is moving very, very slowly, and the family 2B category is moving much faster. And we have already talked about this in many of our programs, that if you applied under F2B, then you converted into F1, it is possible for you to go back to the Immigration Service NVC Center and telling them to process our case under 2B rather than F1. Going ahead with the employment preference categories, the first preference, which are the priority workers, is current for all the countries except India. Now, India has been backlogged for many, many years. In excellent news this month, advances by 56 weeks to January 1, 2007. So basically, if you remember, David, lot of our viewers filed I-130, I-140 and 485s, I think it was July or August of 2007. And many of those cases have been pending just for the visa numbers to become available. And this very good news, maybe another month or two, they may be able to complete their cases that are pending for a long time. Now, the EB third preference, which is the professionals and skilled workers for most of the countries except India, advanced by 20 weeks to June 1, 2014. That's very, very good. Unfortunately, India has not been moving that well. And once again, it is only moved only for 1 week to January 1, 2007. And for the third preference, EW other workers category, also 1 week to January 1, 2004. For the other countries, as I said earlier, 20 weeks for both EB3 and the EW category. The fourth preference employment, special workers are current, and the EB5 category, investors of $1 million or $500,000 in projects that are approved by the government, is current for all the countries except China, I believe. China has already, right? China.
No, China's
Open up again?
They're targeting retrogression for June.
Okay.
So, yeah.
With that, you have any comments before I go further on the cutoff dates?
Well, I think that, and Michael, I've said this before on our shows, and I think that there is I again subscribe to the conspiracy theory, and in light of the fact that there is a huge political push right now, huge pressure on the government to modify the visa granting system, it seems that where we had the logjam before, now we have the most amount of movement.
Correct.
And why is that? Obviously, there is some accountability for the visa granting process. Charles Oppenheim, who works for the U.S. Department of State, is the individual who deals with allocations and deciding when these green cards should be granted and when they shouldn't. And on February 10th, he actually did an update, which is available on our website. We posted his updates recently, and he talks about some changes, some advances, and it's very interesting to see that all of a sudden we have this major advance in the India EB2 classification. This is the one where probably the tremendous amount of pressure is coming from. So what better way to ease your pressure than to advance it so that less people are going to be complaining. So that's one of the things that I personally see going on. Another thing that, of course, we always talk about is keep in mind cross-chargeability. If you are married to an individual from another country, not India, then of course you can take advantage of the priority date from the other country, as opposed to being subject potentially to backlogs, which might end up making your case last.
For example, if you are born in India and you are waiting for many, many years, but you got married to somebody who was born in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, any of these countries, which are almost current or very little waiting period, and that's, I think, a very good news for you. If you question sometimes arises also, somebody says, I'm single, I'm getting married now, can I get married to somebody who was born in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka? That may put back them in the fast line based upon the country of birth of the spouse. Anyway, so
I think one of the other things that Charles Oppenheim mentions in his February 10th update, which I thought was very interesting, is that he gives a view of what is coming in the future, and that's always very helpful. And while he is predicting that the movement in the EB2 classification for India is not going to be as substantial as it was this month, it may be as progressive. So we will see an additional advance in the EB2 classification for India, but unfortunately it's not going to be as substantial as it was in the numbers that were reported for March.
So coming months we'll get more information on that. We'll keep you advised.
Exactly, but obviously the pressure is being taken off of that.
Which is a good news. Which
is very good news. Yeah.
Okay, you came back from India.
Yes, Michael is back from his trip to India, and most of the time was spent in Mumbai. But Michael, you were there, of course, with several dignitaries.
Yes.
You were there with President Obama, and he was meeting with Mr. Modi.
Mr. Modi, the ambassador, Mr. Verma, was there, and John Kerry had come also to Gujarat for a special occasion. So basically, the state is like that. The Modi-Obama meeting was so big, so huge, that all the staff of the American consulate, the consular officer, local staff, everybody was very busy trying to do some arrangements for that. So I didn't get much chance to personally meet them, and I promised that our next trip, maybe when you will be there, we'll both be meeting Ambassador Verma. Obama, of course, won't be there at that time. And all the consular officers are looking forward for us to meet them when we go on our next trip, which is a very good news.
Well, Michael, I have a question for you, though. Probably you know, being on the ground, being in India at a time when obviously these high-level government officials from the U.S. are there, what was the word on the street? How did everyone feel? What is the obviously we all read the media and we kind of get a feeling for, you know, Mr. Modi shaking hands with Mr. Obama, but what do people really feel there?
I think it's a great news. Many things in trade, commerce. It's going to be huge. And I'll tell you, I forgot to mention to you earlier when we were talking before the program, that I did present a detailed memorandum on the Treaty of Trade or Commerce, which was through the proper channels to the ambassador, and they acknowledged it and are looking into that. Looks like the American government is almost very much interested as well. They told us that we also are with you. We are very much interested. Now we have to do something, and we have to appeal our viewers. We got to push Prime Minister Modi also, because this is a bilateral treaty of trade and commerce. It's not one-sided. So US is willing to do that. India has to reciprocate. In other words, if Indian investors just who want to invest maybe $100,000, $200,000, you know, the E-2 and E-1 program that comes out of this treaty, I don't know how many people, maybe thousands of people from Gujarat alone will come to do business here. So the question is, they expect the same courtesy to be granted to the Americans when American wants to go do the business there. So this is where we really have to do some role, and we have to ask all of our viewers to support us on this. and that's very important. Also,
Well, I think it's important also for our viewers to understand the background here is that there is an E-2 visa available from Sri Lanka, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, and yet India, which supposedly is one of our major trade partners, we don't have a treaty of investment. So why is that?
David, first of all, this is an item that I all the time in the lectures and programs. When I say that US has a treaty with Pakistan, US has a treaty with Bangladesh, US has a treaty with Sri Lanka, it doesn't have with India. They say, what? They get angry, really upset. I said, well, basically, I don't know to what extent the previous government cooperated on agreeing to a bilateral, but I think now that, I know you know, everybody knows that Mr. Modi is very big on trade and commerce, I'm sure. I actually privately got some information that yes, he will fully support it, but we have to put the two things together. And also, by the way, I did get from, so even if I didn't meet some of the senior officials, I got some information on the visas. So it looks like that they are a little more lenient now. I have a feeling, and I got some information that President Obama might have, Prime Minister Modi did talk to President Obama about the visas, especially the H-1Bs and some other problems, which of course he wouldn't deal with himself, but one of his staffs or embassy people probably will look into that. I have a feeling that this is a good thing in the visa point of view, from immigration point of view as well. We are not just talking about the political issues, because you know that there is a program under which they can the waiver of the H1, waiver the fingerprints, biometrics. Now everybody has to go 2 times, whether it's Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Priyanka Chopra, any of them. They have to go first for a biometrics, then they have to go for an interview. So looks like the way it is going on a visitor visas and probably H-1B visas also, that they may be exempted from the biometrics as well, because the point is they already had a biometrics done 1 year ago, 2 years ago. What has changed? Why make them go through this? Similarly, there is a waiver for the visa interview also. So remember the problem that 212 we have in waiting periods. This may go away to some extent because there is a discretion. The American consul can still, even the waiver, if they see some little hole or problem in a case, they can call the person to come for interview. But that only in some limited number of cases. So they are saying, why waste so much time of the money in the government or the government's time to call everybody for biometrics and everybody? Because look at this way. You agree with me that if there is a biometric right there a year ago, 2 years ago, what has changed? Nothing. Criminal record and everything they can check in the line.
Right.
Interview. Well, what is there to interview? An H-1B guy come here for a trip. He's going back, get a stamp. Right.
So, well, what the officers sometimes come up with is something along the lines of that they have to repopulate the database, or they are using a new database, so they have to get the data into the new database. And we've heard that before. We've heard that in the past. Yeah, but it's actually nice to hear that Mr. Modi and Mr. Obama are talking about things that are related to visas, and it's consistent with also President Obama's recent trip to China, where all of a sudden there was this tremendous liberalization of the visa process for China, and what they also did was they allowed for multiple entries, which wasn't permitted before, and they liberalized the amount of time that students from China could come and stay in the United States. So it's my hope that obviously this is the predecessor, this discussion, this open channel of communication between Mr. Modi and Mr.
don't
Obama
forget,
become something for the future of immigration processing.
Also, don't forget that our ambassadors and Indian, first time in the country, there is an Indian American who has been ambassador. So Mr. Verma will be talking with Modi, probably Hindi or Gujarati or whatever. Now, very quick, you wanted to know about the Bollywood news.
Yes.
Okay, the Bollywood news is that this is the season. We have all these P3 people coming for performances. We have some companies coming for shooting. Of course, we cannot disclose the names because of privacy. But some people think because of the dollar rate, there's a little bit concern that they have to spend more monies in the shootings and all that. So that's a good news. And I met some of the people, some directors and producers, actors as well. So maybe some other time, maybe next time, I can give some more detailed information on the Bollywood news, and also detailed information on the visa processing, step 1, 2, 3, how you go online, how you make the appointment, go for the interview, and the waivers and everything. So for today, I think that should be enough, and because we are running out of time as usual always. Thank you very much, David, and thank all of you for watching the program. Please keep watching us every Saturday and Sunday at 11:40 a.m. Thank you.